At 0800 hours on a Tuesday morning in late 2004, the air over the Pacific Ocean was dead calm. Below the surface, the depth exceeded 10,000 feet of crushing, lightless water. Above, the most sophisticated sensory array ever constructed by man, the Spy-1 radar of the USS Princeton, detected something that physically should not exist. A cluster of objects appeared at 80,000 feet, the very edge of space, and dropped to the surface of the ocean in less than 0.78 seconds. To achieve this, the objects would have had to travel at speeds exceeding 24,000 miles per hour. They did not produce a sonic boom. They did not leave a heat trail. They simply bypassed the laws of Newtonian physics as if the atmosphere itself offered zero resistance. This was not a glitch in the hardware. It was the beginning of a confrontation that would dismantle our understanding of terrestrial sovereignty and suggest that the most advanced technology on this planet does not belong to any government known to man. The radar operators aboard the Princeton watched these anomalies for an entire week. They called them the rain, because the objects would drop from the heavens and hover just above the waves before shooting back up to the stratosphere. On November 14, the commander of the Black Aces, David Fravor, was vectored in to intercept. He was piloting an F divided by a -18F Super Hornet, a machine that represents the pinnacle of human engineering. As he reached the coordinates, the ocean below him was churning. In a localized patch of the sea, roughly the size of a Boeing 737, the water was frothing and breaking as if something massive was submerged just beneath the surface, creating a turbulent whitewater disturbance. And then, he saw it. Hovering just above the churn was a smooth, white, oblong craft, roughly 40 feet long. It had no wings. It had no windows. It had no visible means of propulsion, no rotors, no exhaust, no engine intake. It was a tic-tac suspended in a vacuum of its own making. When Fravor began a circular descent to get a closer look, the object didn't just react, it mirrored him. It began to climb, meeting his circle, maintaining a distance that suggested it was fully aware of his intent. This wasn't a drone following a pre-programmed path. This was an intelligent response. As Fravor aggressively pulled his jet toward the craft to close the gap, the tic-tac did something that defied the structural integrity of any known material. It vanished. It did not fly away. It accelerated so rapidly that it disappeared from the pilot's visual field in a fraction of a second. Seconds later, the Princeton's radar confirmed the object had reappeared at the CAP point, the secret rendezvous coordinates where the jets were supposed to meet after their mission. The object knew where the pilots were going before the pilots had even received the order to go there. This encounter introduces a terrifying logical pivot. If this craft was not ours, and it was not a foreign adversary's, then we are looking at a technology that treats our most advanced weapon systems like sticks and stones. Analysis of the flight data suggests the craft utilized inertial mass reduction. By creating a localized gravity warp around its hull, the object effectively had no weight. This explains why it could accelerate from a hover to hypersonic speeds without killing a pilot or tearing the air apart. But the mystery deepens when we look at the water. The disturbance Fravor saw was not just a side effect of the craft hovering. Sonar data from the strike group suggests that the tic-tac was interacting with something much larger beneath the waves, a mother craft or a submerged facility that has remained hidden in the deep-sea trenches of the Pacific for decades. We must look at the cold truth of the ocean. 70% of our planet is covered by water, and 95% of that remains unexplored. While we point our telescopes toward the stars looking for life, the data suggests we should be looking down. For 70 years, naval logs have been filled with USOs, unidentified submerged objects. In 1952, during Operation Mainbrace, multiple NATO ships reported silver disks emerging from the North Sea and shadows moving at 400 knots at depths where a nuclear submarine would be crushed like a tin can. The physics of water is denser than air. To move through it at high speeds requires a level of fluid dynamics that we are centuries away from mastering. Yet, these objects transition from the vacuum of space to the density of the ocean floor with no change in velocity. This is transmedium capability. It suggests that for whoever is operating these machines, the distinction between air, space, and water is irrelevant. The official response to the 2004 incident was a wall of silence. When the jets landed back on the Nimitz, the data tapes from the Hawkeye surveillance planes, the eyes in the sky, were wiped. According to petty officers on board, 2 men in generic flight suits arrived via an unlisted helicopter shortly after the encounter. They didn't sign in. They didn't give names. They went straight to the radar room, removed the hard drives, and left. This is a recurring pattern in the true history of these encounters. It is not just about the objects, it is about the systematic removal of evidence. If these were simply secret Russian or Chinese projects, the US Navy would be shouting from the rooftops to secure more funding for defense. The fact that they hide the data suggests the truth is far more destabilizing. It suggests a total loss of control over our own airspace. Consider the gimbal incident of 2015. Another encounter, another high-definition sensor lock. The pilots are heard on the recording, their voices cracking with a mix of professional shock and primal fear. They describe a fleet of them on the radar, moving against a 120-knot wind. The primary craft, shaped like a spinning top with a glowing aura, tilts and rotates in a way that would stall any aerodynamic lift-based vehicle. It moves with a liquid grace. The thermal cameras show the craft is cold, colder than the surrounding air. It has no heat signature because it isn't burning fuel. It is manipulating the fabric of spacetime itself. This leads to a chilling conclusion: we aren't looking at aliens from a distant galaxy. The proximity of these encounters to our nuclear strike groups and undersea cables suggests a localized interest. They are here, they are watching, and they have been utilizing the deep ocean as a sanctuary for a very long time. But why the sudden increase in sightings? Between 2004 and 2021, the frequency of these incursions into restricted military airspace surged. They aren't just hovering, they are conducting electronic warfare tests. During the USS Russell encounter, multiple pyramid-shaped craft swarmed the destroyer, flashing lights into the bridge, seemingly immune to the ship's sophisticated jamming equipment. They are probing our defenses. They are mapping our response times. It is a slow, methodical intelligence-gathering operation. The mystery is no longer are they real. The evidence is overwhelming. The mystery is, what are they waiting for? The logic of the situation dictates that if a civilization can master gravity, they have mastered the ultimate weapon. A craft that can move at 20,000 miles per hour can be used as a kinetic projectile with the force of a tactical nuke. Yet, they don't attack. They interfere with nuclear silos, like the 1967 Malmstrom Air Force Base incident, where 10 Minuteman missiles were mysteriously deactivated while a glowing red disk hovered over the gate. They didn't destroy the missiles, they just showed us that they could turn them off. It was a demonstration of total technological dominance. A keep out sign posted on our own front door. Every 500 words, the data becomes more granular and more disturbing. We find that the materials recovered from crash sites, referred to in classified documents as off-world vehicles not made by human hands, possess an atomic structure that is layered at the micron level. These are metamaterials. They are designed to interact with electromagnetic waves in ways that occur nowhere in nature. Some of these materials can become invisible to radar, others can become superconductors at room temperature. When researchers tried to cut these samples, the tools shattered. When they applied high-voltage electricity, the material began to lose weight. We are holding pieces of a puzzle that we don't have the mathematics to solve yet. As we peel back the layers of this forensic anomaly, we find that the aliens' narrative is actually the most comfortable explanation. It's easier to believe in visitors from the stars than it is to believe that there is a superior, non-human intelligence that has shared this planet with us since the beginning of the Holocene. The cold truth is that we are the secondary inhabitants of Earth. We live on the crust, they live in the depths. Every time we advance our sensing technology, moving from basic radar to the sophisticated Aegis systems, we don't see more of them, we simply realize they were always there, just outside our perception. The information gap is closing, but the truth it reveals is one of human insignificance. The official narrative is shifting. For decades, the word UFO was a career killer for pilots and scientists. Now, the Pentagon has rebranded them as UAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. This isn't just a name change, it's a legal maneuver to allow for the declassification of data that can no longer be hidden. We are being prepared for a reveal. But what if the reveal isn't a first contact event on the White House lawn? What if the reveal is a realization that our oceans are not our own? The 2026 intelligence reports hint at automated systems operating in the Puerto Rico Trench, objects that have been stationary at 5 miles deep for over a decade. They aren't traveling, they are stationed. This brings us to the most haunting piece of evidence, the fast movers. These are acoustic signals picked up by the Navy's underwater SOSUS arrays, the same microphones used to track Russian submarines. These signals move at speeds that defy the cavitation limit of water. If a normal object moves through water at 100 knots, the friction creates steam bubbles that eventually explode and damage the object. These fast movers move at 500 knots. They shouldn't be able to stay intact. Yet, they move silently, with no engine noise, echoing the same noiseless propulsion seen in the tic-tac in the sky. It is the same signature. The same technology. A unified system of transport that treats the planet as a single, frictionless environment. We are currently standing at a crossroads of human history. The rain over the Nimitz wasn't a weather event. It was a curtain being pulled back. As we analyze the flight paths and the behavioral patterns of these craft, a frighteningly logical picture emerges. They aren't interested in our politics, our gold, or our land. They are interested in our energy. Specifically, our nuclear signatures. There is a direct correlation between UAP sightings and the presence of nuclear carriers, nuclear submarines, and nuclear storage facilities. It is as if they are monitoring a toddler playing with a loaded gun. They aren't here to guide us, they are here to ensure we don't burn down the house they happen to live in. The presence of these craft near nuclear assets suggests a containment protocol, but to understand the where, we must look at the geography of the impossible. The Puerto Rico Trench, a gash in the Earth's crust nearly 5.5 miles deep, has become a focal point for what military analysts call the Transmedium Corridor. In 2013, over the coastal town of Aguadilla, a high-definition infrared camera on a Customs and Border Protection aircraft tracked a small, metallic sphere traveling at low altitude. The object did not manifest a heat signature, yet it moved with a velocity that should have generated significant friction. As the pilots watched, the sphere dove into the Atlantic Ocean at over 100 miles per hour. It did not splash. It did not slow down. It transitioned into the water as if the surface were smoke. Seconds later, it emerged, split into 2 identical units, and dove back in. This wasn't just a craft, it was a demonstration of a physical state of matter we have yet to categorize, a Bose-Einstein condensate on a macroscopic scale, where the object exists in a state of zero friction with its environment. The logic follows that if an intelligence can move through water as easily as air, the deepest trenches of our oceans are not barriers, they are the ultimate fortresses. Sonar data from high-sensitivity hydrophones placed by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has recorded broadband quakes that are not tectonic. These are rhythmic, mechanical pulses emanating from the deepest points of the seabed. When triangulated, these pulses don't move, they are stationary anchors. This points to the existence of a permanent, submerged infrastructure. In the 1960s, during the height of the Cold War, the U.S. Navy's sound surveillance system began picking up what sailors called the bloop and the train, sounds so massive they could be heard across thousands of miles of ocean. While some were dismissed as icequakes, others possessed a frequency modulation that suggests a machine-driven origin. We are looking at a logistical hub that utilizes the extreme pressure of the deep ocean as a natural shielding against human detection and radiation. This leads to the question of the material. If these craft are real, they are made of something. Forensic analysis of recovered slag and debris from alleged retrieval sites reveals a terrifying level of manufacturing sophistication. In labs at Stanford and other high-security facilities, fragments of unidentified aerial phenomena have been subjected to isotopic ratio analysis. The results are an anomaly that defies terrestrial chemistry. The magnesium and bismuth layers found in certain samples are arranged in thin films, only microns thick. On a molecular level, these layers act as waveguides for terahertz frequencies. In simpler terms, the hull of the craft is the engine. There are no wires, no fuel tanks, and no rivets. The very skin of the machine is a programmable material that can manipulate electromagnetic fields to create lift and cloak itself from sight. This isn't just a spaceship, it is a solid-state piece of technology that functions more like a giant computer chip than a traditional vehicle. The biological aspect of the mystery is where the cold truth becomes most uncomfortable. If these machines are autonomous, who programmed them? If they are piloted, who is inside? Whistleblower testimony from the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program hints at biologics recovered from non-human craft. These are described not as little green men, but as highly specialized, potentially printed biological entities. They lack digestive systems. They lack reproductive organs. They appear to be biological drones, organic hardware designed to withstand the g-forces of 20,000 mile/hour turns that would liquefy a human being. This suggests that the base in the ocean, we must pivot back to the historical evidence to close the information gap. In 1561, the citizens of Nuremberg, Germany, witnessed a celestial phenomenon where hundreds of globes, crosses, and tubes engaged in a violent aerial battle over the city. At the time, they interpreted it through the lens of religion, a war of angels. But the descriptions in the woodcut prints of the era are chillingly modern. They describe large cylinders from which small, round craft emerged, exactly what David Fravor and the Nimitz pilots saw in 2004. This means the technology has not changed in 500 years. While human technology moved from the horse and carriage to the Saturn V rocket, these objects have remained static in their superiority. They did not evolve because they had already reached the pinnacle of physical possibility. They are not visiting us, they are observing a closed system from a position of total dominance. The strategic rehook lies in the why. If a civilization has existed in our oceans for centuries, why do they remain hidden? The answer may lie in the shadow biosphere theory. This theory suggests that there are two civilizations on Earth. One lives on the surface, utilizes fire and chemical energy, and communicates via radio waves. The other lives in the mantle and the deep crust, utilizes gravity and zero-point energy, and communicates via methods we cannot even perceive. We are not aliens to them, we are a surface nuisance. Like ants on the sidewalk, we are ignored until we start building our nest too close to their front door. Our entry into the nuclear age was that moment. The split of the atom wasn't just a weapon, it was a signal. It announced that the surface dwellers had discovered a force that could potentially destabilize the planet's geological integrity. The ultimate reveal, the synthesis of 70 years of data, points to a terrifying reality. The base is not an outpost of an interstellar empire. It is a terrestrial facility belonging to the true owners of this planet. We are the anomaly. Our rapid rise from the Stone Age to the Space Age in a mere 10,000 years is the outlier. The presence of these UAPs around our most sensitive military sites is a form of environmental management. They aren't here to talk. They aren't here to trade. They are here to ensure that the surface experiment doesn't compromise the deeper, more permanent structures of the world. The information gap closes with a single, harrowing realization: we have been looking for life in the stars because the truth of what lies beneath our feet is too heavy to bear. The ocean isn't a resource, it's a ceiling. And beneath that ceiling, something far older and far more powerful is waiting for us to either grow up or burn out. Every radar hit, every sonar ping, and every frantic pilot's report is a piece of a map we are finally beginning to read. We are moving toward a declassification event not because the government wants to be honest, but because they can no longer hide the scale of the incursion. The drones in our skies and the shadows in our seas are increasing in frequency because the surface experiment is entering a volatile phase. We are no longer being watched, we are being managed. The tic-tac wasn't a ship. It was a sentinel. And the sentinel is just one of millions. As we look into the dark water of the Pacific, we must realize that the abyss isn't staring back at us. It is looking right through us.